you can eat the animal with tamei hands because the animal was not mukhshar. The animal was not made capable of becoming tamei. So even if it would be mukhshar, so what? Hands are a sheni l'tumah. Sheni l'tumah doesn't do anything, doesn't impact chulin. Doesn't do anything to chulin. Sheni l'tumah can make truma have to be burned. It can passel truma. It can make kachim, make a carbon into a shlishi. Then the carbon, which is a shlishi, touches another carbon, make that into a revi that has to be burned. But what can a sheni even do to chulin? What's the big deal here? That was the discussion. So we said yesterday the answer. One answer. We're talking about the view of Reb Shimon Elazar, where a person put his hands into a bayis hamanuga, into a house of tzaras. That's where the hands became not a sheni l'tumah, they became a rishon l'tumah. And when they were to touch the food, if they touch chulin, a rishon that touches chulin can ruin it, can make it into a sheni. Okay, that's the case. All right, so now let's see another answer. Okay, we are on Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. Today's daf, is Lamed Daled. So we're on Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. Let's start with Amar Reb Elazar. Amar Reb Hoshaya. Exactly, that's what we were up to. So Amar Reb Elazar, Reb Hoshaya. Reb Elazar says the name Reb Hoshaya. Another answer. Hacha b'chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh askinan. Again, what's our problem? Our problem is the Mishnah implies that if there would be blood flow in the animal, so the blood flow, the liquid would be machshir, the meat of the animal, then the hands would ruin it. So understand, if the blood is machshir, the animal meat, it's still all chulin. So what can a sheni do to chulin? The answer is it's not regular chulin. Till now we were talking about chulin. We spoke about Ma'aser Risha, we spoke about Ma'aser Sheni a little bit, we spoke about Risha, hand being a Risha. Now we're giving another answer. Sometimes there are people who are Kohanim. They have a lot of karbanos. So they want to be very careful with themselves because they don't want to sometimes eat chulin and sometimes eat karbanos because they're worried that if they get used to not watching themselves much, then when they eat the karbanos, they're going to mess it up. So therefore, they eat chulin as if they are karbanos. They treat the chulin as if they are karbanos. That's called chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh. They eat chulin and they treat it as if it's a karban. So that's what's going on here. These are people that are noheg to treat the chulin as if it's kodesh, and apparently that's the chiddush. The Mishnah is saying if you treat the chulin as if it's kodesh, it already has the status of kodesh midrabanan, and therefore, if your hands are a sheni l'tumah, if they touch such chulin, they make that chulin into tamei. They make it tamei. They ruin it like if it would be if they touched a carbon. That's the answer. Amar Elazar, Amar Hoshaya, b'chulin shenasu taras hakodesh askinan. Okay, udolo, and then you have to say that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehoshua, because Rabbi Yeshua holds even chulin shenasu taras hakodesh to not make the chulin into kodesh. And he wouldn't have a law that a sheni would ruin it because it's still chulin. It's chulin that are being treated like kodesh, but it's still not kodesh. So he holds that a sheni would not ruin it, and we're against that. The time went in a brayso, Belazar says, Ochel rishon. Belazar says if a person eats food which is a rishon l'tumah, even though normally, as Baruch was bothered by yesterday, and tumah keeps getting less and less. But he says there's a tumah d'Rabbanan called tumah sagvia, the tumah of the inside. So he says if a person eats a food which is a rishon l'tumah, the person himself becomes a rishon l'tumah. If it doesn't become a sheni, he becomes a rishon. A person who eats a sheni, he becomes a sheni. A person who eats a shlishi, he becomes a shlishi. This is all a tumah d'Rabbanan. Rabbi Yeshua says, ochel rishon. Normally a person eats a food which is a rishon, he becomes less, he becomes a sheni. If a person eats a sheni l'tumah, he becomes a shlishi, he becomes less. But then there's situations where a person eats a sheni, the person ate a sheni, he becomes a sheni l'kodesh. He becomes a sheni in regards to karbanos. And he's not a sheni, they ain't sheni l'chuma. He's not a sheni in regards to chuma. So Yeshua explains, what's the situation where a person eats a rishon, or a sheni, or a shlishi, The chulin shenasu al taras truma. Someone who says he's going to eat the chulin with the purity of truma, so then the chulin has the status of truma, that if the sheni were to touch it, it would ruin it. So what did Rabbi Yeshua say? Chulin shenasu al taras truma in. You could have chulin that you're treating it as if it's truma. It gets treated as truma. But Rabbi Yeshua apparently holds al taras hakodesh lo. But that if you treat the chulin as if it's kodesh, it doesn't have the status of kodesh. So kosav chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh lesbu shlishi. Chulin that are made as if, that are treated as if they are kodesh, don't have the status of kodesh. So in kodesh, you have a concept of a shlishi, that if a sheni touches it, it becomes so tameh, it could even make something else tameh. But that doesn't exist in chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh. So that must mean that therefore our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yoshua. Because what are we saying in our Mishnah? Why would hands make a problem? We're saying hands would make a problem if it's chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh. So Mar says, why do you have to say it's against Rabbi Yoshua? But look, well, you can say that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Yeshua. Now starting today's daf. The chulin shenasu al taras truma of Rabbi Yeshua. You can say that it's talking about chulin, right? But it's chulin that are being treated as if they're truma. And then Rabbi Yeshua says they have to be treated like truma. And that's why there's a problem. If there would be a blood flow, then the meat would be mukhshar. And here he's treating this meat as if it is truma. So in truma, a sheni ruins it. If a sheni touches truma, you have to burn the truma. Now it doesn't make it tameh, it doesn't make it able to transfer to another level, but it ruins that level. It's poseloto. So that's what's going on here. The meat is being treated as if it's truma, therefore it has the status of truma. That's what we said. If there's no blood flow, then it's okay to eat it with yadayim mesuavot, with hands that are sheni. But if there would be a blood flow, you couldn't eat it with yadayim mesuavot, because if you ate it with yadayim mesuavos, then it would ruin it. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yeshua is not going to say that. Lo salka daita. You can't think to say that. So Ktani basar. What's the topic of our Mishnah? We're talking about meat. You never have meat of truma. Truma is out of produce. If you're going to say, I'm treating my apples as if they are truma, my chulin apples as if they are truma, I understand. I have a lot of truma in the house. I want to get used to that standard. So I'm treating all my apples as if they're truma, because I'm worried I might have a situation of, if I don't treat everything like it's truma, I'm going to make a mistake with truma. Fine. But the fact that I'm worried about making a mistake with truma is not going to make me treat my meat as if it's truma, because meat could never be truma. So that's what our Mishnah is talking about, meat. Lo sagadatach, talking about meat. Truma, if you're talking about that everything is being treated as if it's truma, therefore it has the status of truma. Basar mi'ika, is there such a thing as meat of truma? So Gemara says, 1 second, otherwise, so what was your answer? Why you didn't want it to be Rabbi Yeshua? You said, because we're talking about chulin, but it's chulin being treated as if it is kachim, and it's according to those views that when you treat chulin as if it's kachim, it has the status of kachim, which Rabbi Yeshua disagrees with. Elamai b'kachim, so what did you say it was kachim? Understand. Chai b'kachim mi'ika, why would anybody confuse his meat of a deer with karbanos? Because a deer could never be a carbon. One of the things that the Mishnah talked about was a deer that had no blood. Deer could never be a carbon. So Marian says, no. Meat looks like meat. Deer meat looks like cow meat, which looks like lamb meat, which looks like sheep meat, and it looks like goat meat. So when you have meat gets confused with meat. So meat gets confused with meat. So a guy who has a lot of karbanos, he brings a lot of shlamim, and he's worried that he might mess up his shlamim. So he's going to make sure to treat all the meat as if it's karbanos. Since that would get confused, those who think that when you're treating everything as if it's a karban, so it has to be treated like a karban, midrabanan, so fine. That's the case of our Mishnah. When you talk about truma, if you think that when you treat it as a karban, it doesn't have the status of a karban. Only if you treat things as truma, they would have the status of truma. That's if you Yeshua. And you don't have that. Could it say that in our Mishnah? Because our Mishnah is talking about meats, and meats would never be confused with truma. So basar michlif, meat with meat can be confused. Basar b'peir lo michlif, but meat's not going to be confused with grain. It's not going to be confused with fruits. Therefore, there's no such thing as chulin shenasu al taras truma about meat. Chulin shenasu al taras kachim, but not chulin shenasu al taras truma.
So, Rabbi, when you say treating, does that mean that in your mind, that's what you think?
You're treating it with the same standards, the same level of stringency.
Okay, but you could do that with everything except meat? Is that what you're saying? Meat is the only one that is excluded from being treated.
And we're saying if you treat meat as if it's a carbon, so fine. Now you have to act as if it's a carbon. The rabbis created all sorts of stringencies with carbonos that would apply to this chulin meat too, because you're treating it like a carbon. But if you're treating meat as if it's truma, that's meaningless, because there is no such thing as truma of meat. So you want to treat it as if it's truma. It's still chulin. It has the status of chulin. So you don't have the stringencies that the rabbis created in truma in regards to such meat. Okay, Amar Ula. Ula says another answer to explain our Mishnah. Ula said, Chavraya Amrin, our friends explain, the Mishnah is b'chulin shenasol taras hakodesh. As we said, the Mishnah is talking about chulin, about really it's all chulin. But it's being treated as if it is kodesh. Udolok Rabbi Yeshua, and not like Rabbi Yeshua, because according to Rabbi Yeshua, there's no such thing as chulin shenasol taras hakodesh having the status of kodesh. And even so, I'm going to say it is Rabbi Yeshua. Our Mishnah is Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua maybe does agree that there is such a thing as chulin shenasol taras hakodesh. In the last thing, when Rabbi Yeshua said about all sorts of tumos, a guy who eats a rishon becomes a rishon, but if he eats a sheni, he actually becomes a sheni. And there Rabbi Yeshua said that it's in regards to chulin shenasol taras truma. Lo mibaya kamar. It's not that Rabbi Yeshua was disagreeing. Rabbi Yeshua was saying, I don't even need to tell you. Certainly, if someone's treating his chulin as if it's kodesh, it has the status of kodesh, and in kodesh there's such a thing as shlishi l'tzoma. So then, when he eats the shlishi, it would mess up his kodesh if he then touches the kodesh. And lafilu chulin shenasol taras truma nami islu shlishi. His point was that even chulin that are being treated as truma are also treated as truma, and there is such a thing as a shlishi making a problem. But it's certainly the case with kodesh. He doesn't disagree. Unlike what we said before. Before we said he doesn't believe in the concept of chulin shenasol taras hakodesh being kodesh. Chulin being treated as kodesh makes them have the status of kodesh. No, he does agree to it. He was just saying he even thinks that you have such a concept with chulin that are made on truma. Okay, says the Gemara. Man chevrai, who are these friends? Who are these friends that Rish Lakish is disagreeing with, or that Ula is disagreeing with? So the explains it's Rabbi Bar Chana. It's Rabbi Bar Chana. Rabbi Bar Chana, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Bar Chana is the name of Rabbi Yochanan. I have a conversation. Maya Haju, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Allah Hadadi. What was the conversation between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua to each other? Again, going back to how we began. We began with a brisa. Rabbi Lezer says if somebody eats a food which is a rishon, he becomes a rishon. This is again a chiddush midrabanan. If someone eats a food which is a sheni, he becomes a sheni. If someone eats a food which is a shlishi, he becomes a shlishi. It's a big chiddush because normally whenever you touch tumah, you become less, not that you become the same thing as what you ate. Okay, that's Rabbi Lezer. And Rabbi Yeshua said no. It depends. If you ate a food which is a rishon, then you become a sheni. If you ate food which is a sheni, though, you do become a sheni. If you ate food which is a shlishi, you actually become more than your food. You become a sheni. And this is only true in regards to karbanos itself. But it wouldn't be true in regards to truma. That was what Rabbi Yeshua said. So what was that conversation? Amar lo Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Lezer says to Rabbi Yeshua, Matzinu ochel chamor mina ocha. There are times where we find that the one eating becomes stricter than the food he ate. Think about the following. Let's take a dead bird. A dead bird, nivlas oftar, a kosher bird that was not killed with shchita, outside of the body. If somebody touches it, he doesn't even become tameh. Lo mitameh. Vilu ochla, that if he ate it, in fact, he swallows it, makes all of his garments tameh. So you see that the eating is more tamei than the food itself. Therefore, that's the truth with the doraisa. So therefore, va'anu so'as heich lo nasa ochel kemaichel. So at the very least, we should make somebody eating a tamei thing as tamei as the thing that he's eating. Therefore, it makes sense to say that if somebody eats a rishon, he becomes a rishon. If somebody eats a sheni, he becomes a sheni. If somebody eats a shlishi, he becomes a shlishi. That's Rabbi Elazar's argument. Rabbi Yeshua says that's not a good argument. To say, well, the velas oftar, if you touch it, nothing happens. But if you eat it, then your clothing becomes tamei. It's not a proof to normal eating of tumah things. It's a chiddushu. That's all a chiddush, nevelas oftar. It's a chiddush. So it's a chiddush. You can't learn from a chiddush.
But if you touch it, you get tamei too, no?
No. Only if you touch a nevela animal, not if you touch a nevela bird.
What level of tumah do you get if you touch a nevela animal?
You become a rishon. You become rishon l'tumah. Ella. So therefore, Rabbi Yeshua says, Rabbi Yeshua disagrees with Rabbi Elazar. He says no. Normally, the food is stricter than the one eating the food. Dilu machol. We talk about food; it becomes tamei. The kibetza. Let's say you have food the size of a kibetza that touches a dead rodent. It becomes tamei. It becomes a rishon. V'ochel, whereas a person who eats tamei food, adachel kachatzi pras. He only becomes tamei if he eats half a loaf. So you see that the food itself is stricter than the person who eats it. The food itself becomes tamei as an egg. The person who eats it only becomes tamei with half a loaf. So how could you have this stringency that the person who eats a rishon becomes a rishon, the person who eats a sheni becomes a sheni? Food is stricter than the person who eats the food. But Lazar says back, no, it's not comparable to mishur and lo gamrina. You can't say, well, there's a measurement here of a kibetza. Here the measurement is half a loaf. So you see, this is stricter. It's a kibetza. This is lenient. It's a half a loaf. That's not comparable. Measurements have nothing to do with transmitting tumah or what stage of tumah it is. And another point said Rabbi Yeshua, l'dvarecha, according to your opinion, that the eater is going to be less than the food. Sha'at Omer, you're going to say, al rishon sheni. Okay, you say that if somebody eats food which is a rishon, he becomes a sheni. Okay, Yafat Omer, that's fine. But then you went on to say, sheni, if somebody's a sheni, if somebody eats a sheni, then he becomes a sheni. Lama, why would he become a sheni? He should become less. He should become a shlishi. Amar lo, Yeshua said, sometimes we find, even though normally if he eats a rishon, he becomes a sheni. If he eats a sheni, he becomes a sheni. He doesn't go down to becoming the shlishi. Because sometimes we sometimes find shasheni oseh sheni al yidei mashkin. Let's say you have a food which is a sheni l'tumah. Sheni l'tumah touches a piece of food which has a liquid on it. So the halach is that a liquid that touches a sheni goes up. It goes up to being a rishon. It's a din d'Rabbanan. Since liquids have high levels of tumah, like you can have mashke azav, a liquid of azav, they made a stringency in liquids that a liquid, it's a tumah d'Rabbanan, a liquid that touches a sheni goes back to being a rishon. So if you have a food that's a sheni, it touches another piece of food that has liquid on it. So by touching the piece of food that has liquid, the liquid became rishon, and then the rishon touching the food becomes sheni. So basically, a sheni is making another sheni. So Amar lo, as I said back to Rabbi Yeshua, if you're comparing it to a food, making another piece of food a sheni, that's through a liquid, which is a rishon. It's not as you look in a Mishnah. All those things that would ruin truma, namely shenis, that makes the mashke into a rishon. Except for someone who went to the mikvah, just waiting for the sun to set. So, if you're going to compare it to foods, making other foods the same status, you should actually go to a higher level. And furthermore, Rabbi Elazar challenges Rabbi Yeshua, even according to you, who say that if you eat a Rishon or a Sheni, you become a Sheni. You said if you eat a Shlishi, then he becomes a Sheni. Lama, so why would that make any sense? Why would eating a Shlishi enable him to go up higher to be even a Sheni? Amar lo, Rabbi Yeshua said back, Afani lo amarti ella bitshuma. I'm talking about chulin that are being treated as if they are truma. So therefore they have such a thing as shlishi and shetaharasa tuma he ate ala kodesh. And we learn in Maseches Chagiga that as much as a person is going to watch truma, that's not considered watching in regards to kodesh. And in Tumah, the Hesach Hadas, the lack of watching, is what makes the status of Tumah Midrabanan. So therefore, Chachamim say that if somebody was watching things thinking that it was Truma, then he finds out that it's Kodesh, it's considered Tameh. You have to watch it thinking that it's Kodesh. So therefore, if a Kohen eats Truma, and he's trying to consider himself Tahar in regards to Truma, he's still considered Tameh in regards to Kodesh. So that's what's going on here. If he ate food that he's treating it as Tohar in regards to Truma, if it was Tameh, then we say, but in regards to Kodesh, right, he eats food that he's treating it as Truma, trying to have the purity of Truma. And this food is a Shlishi. In regards to Kodesh, it didn't work. In regards to Kodesh, it's as if he didn't watch himself at all. In regards to Kodesh, he is considered a Sheni. So when I say that if you eat Shlishi, you're a Sheni, it means if you eat a Shlishi of Truma, and you're only trying to stay pure for Truma, you're considered a Sheni in regards to Kodesh, because by trying to be pure for Truma, that's not enough to be pure for Kodesh.
How about if he eats Rishon?
Certainly.
Is it going to be Rishon too, or is it going to be...
No, Sheni. He'll be a Sheni. He'll be a Sheni then.
Rabbi,
He'll be a Sheni.
quick question.
Please.
It has to do with the liquids. We know that liquid, if you have a mashke, it turns it back to
Rishon.
first. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, with Rishon. So our example with the animal that he was slaughtering,
Yeah.
he didn't touch where it was wet, because if he touched the dam,
There was no blood. That's our case.
no, but we're saying you can eat it with your dam yourself. I mean, if there was blood, that's the whole idea. If there was blood,
Then you
couldn't
can't.
do it. So if there was blood and you touched it, the blood would blood become first. So even with your dime,
No, the blood is already drained off.
No, but we're talking.
The blood was machshirit. Then the blood was removed.
So that means it's dry.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I want to know. The animal
Yeah.
had to be dry in the
yeah.
making.
He's not touching. He's not touching a liquid.
Because if we're touching the liquid, it wouldn't be a question even
It's a
with your
rishon.
dime.
Yeah, it's a rishon. Okay. Amar Reb Zera said Reb Zera. Amar Rav Yochanan Amar Reb Yanai says the name of Reb Yochanan name Reb Yanai. Ochel shlishi shel chulin shenasu al taras hakodesh. Somebody eats food which is a shlishi of chulin that are being treated as if they're karbanos. Nasa gufo sheni lakodesh. And his body becomes a sheni in regards to karbanos. Eis v'Reb Zera l'Ravasi. So Reb Zera challenged Ravasi. We learned if somebody eats a shlishi, it becomes a sheni lakodesh. I'm sorry, we learned shlishi, in general, shlishis are sheni lakodesh. A shlishi is like a sheni in regards to kodesh, because it can make the kodesh tameh, the ain sheni le truma. So we challenged him, we learned, I'm sorry, shlishi, somebody who eats a shlishi, he becomes a sheni lakodesh, he becomes a sheni in regards to kodesh, the ain sheni le truma, but he's not a sheni in regards to truma. And that's about bechulin shenas al taras truma. That's referring to a person who's eating chulin as if it is truma. So al taras truma it sounds like al taras truma. That's when he becomes a sheni. But if he eats a shlishi from chulin shenas al taras hakodesh, lo, he doesn't become a sheni. Amar leis, he said no. Lo mi baya ka'amar. He's saying I don't even need to tell you. Lo mi baya ka'amar. Not only is this true with Chulin Shenas al Taras Truma, it's certainly true with Chulin Shenas al Taras Kodesh. But Rabbi Yeshua says, I'm only talking about Truma. So my answers, Amorai Ninu, V'alibud Rabbi Yochanan. It's actually a machlokas Amoraim. What is the view of Rabbi Yochanan? Does Rabbi Yeshua only hold of a concept of Chulin Shenas al Taras Truma? Maybe Rabbi Yeshua holds of such a concept even in regards to Chulin Shenasu al Taras Kodesh. Amar Ula said, Ochel Shlishi shel Chulin Shenasu al Taras Truma, a person who eats a Shlishi of Tumah from food Chulin that are being treated as if it's Truma, Nifsal Gufo Milecho b'Truma. So now his body becomes a Shlishi, and therefore he can't eat Truma. The Gemara says, "My Kamashman, what's the Chiddush of Ula?" This is what Rabbi Yeshua said. Tanina, he said, if somebody eats a Shlishi, he becomes a Sheni l'Kodesh. They ain't Sheni l'Truma. He doesn't become a Sheni for Truma. Ochem Chulin Shenas al Taras Truma. So it's saying Sheni Udelo Havi doesn't become a Sheni. Shlishi Havi becomes a Shlishi. The Gemara says, no, if that would have been the source, Havamina would have thought, Lo Sheni Havim, Lo Shlishi Havim. It doesn't become a Sheni, nor a Shlishi. And Ayuda Amar Sheni B'Kodesh. And this, since we said Sheni in regards to Kodesh, he said he's not a Sheni for Truma. So that's what Kamash Malan, he's not a Sheni for Truma, but he is a Shlishi for Truma. Okay, we'll stop here, and Bezrat Hashem will continue at this point tomorrow. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha Omer, Ratzak HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael, Lefichach Yirba Lehem Torah Mitzvah Shenemar, Avnei Chafetz L'Man Tzidko Yagdil Terav Yagdil, 625.